Hi, my name is Gwen Peterson. I'm a certified independent health coach and global director with Optavia. If this is the first time you've stumbled upon my channel, welcome. If you haven't already, make sure to click that subscribe button so you receive notifications anytime I load a new video. And then if this video offers you value, make sure to click that like button. And if you aren't aware, I do have a closed group over on Facebook called Gather with Gwen, where I do pre-launches of when I do a health and wellness challenge or new little things that I have going on. So today's video is another interview with one of my clients who has had a few stumbling blocks over her couple of years of working with me. And as you know, with my YouTube channel, I just try to offer value. And if I have clients that are willing to share their story with you, hopefully that will help you hear through their words things that you might be struggling with and how to keep working toward optimal health. So if you end up enjoying this video, please make sure to comment below and let Carrie know what part of her story offered you value or what you resonated with, because you'll hear Carrie and I going back and forth about a lot of different topics, and just wanted to let you guys have a bird's eye view of what her and my check-ins have looked like over these last couple of years couple of years beginning and then again now, to help her get to the 35 down pound mark. She's still working on another 55, and of course, like always, results not typical. Everyone's journey is their own, and we will be putting the disclaimer in here. So sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy listening to Carrie's story and all of her obstacles and how she's been working daily on the mindset.
At Optavia, our mission is to offer the world lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time. The following audio contains the personal testimonials of independent coaches and clients within the Optavia community. Their results are based on the unique experiences of their journey. We cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. We hope these stories inspire you to continue your journey with or join Optavia, but please note that they have not been verified and your individual path to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you speak with a healthcare provider or doctor prior to beginning your journey with Optavia.
Hey everyone, I am so excited to introduce you to Carrie. As you know, I'm kind of starting to do some segments with clients that are willing. If you are my client, you're not required to do this. And I wanted to bring Carrie on because she's been really instrumental to me as a coach, because as I always tell people, you don't need to know everything to be a coach. And I've been doing this 8 years and I'm still learning. And Carrie found me in 2019. She and her friend had registered online to do the program through Optavia, and it went into this weird dead space where it didn't actually assign her a coach. But then in forums, she saw that they were saying, you know, you get to have a coach. So then she just started researching, went and found some coaches on YouTube, and then ended up reaching out to me. And we had the opportunity back in 2019 to spend 3 months together on program. And yes, she did get down to 199.6 pounds with me, but then the holidays were coming. So Carrie, first, before we go into what happened when the holidays came in 2019, I would love you to give them the backstory of what your nutrition, dieting life had looked like prior to you and I connecting in 2019.
Sure. So thanks, Gwen, for having me. And hopefully, you know, we can really inspire some people to stick to program and reach their goals. Because I was a yo-yo dieter for my whole life. I remember as a child thinking I was heavy, and looking back at pictures, I was not. Always being compared to other family members that weren't maybe the same size. And in college, it really took a toll on me. I gained the freshman 15, then we our family moved across country back to where we were from, but everything became about convenience. I was living in a sorority house. We had a kitchen, but you had to share it with 30 other girls. And so it ended up that I became fast food queen. It was easy. I could go in, get it in between classes, whatever I needed. I was not on campus all the time. So it really became convenient factor. As I went through the years, I tried almost every diet plan you can imagine. Lost weight on some, didn't put enough effort into others. And finally, when I started Optavia in 19, I was already in my 40s, already had 2 kids, was struggling and just wanted some health back. I had actually already been through and diagnosed with lymphoma and went through treatment and came out cancer free. And so I was really trying to focus on my health. And then, like you said, the holidays hit and my mindset shifted to, oh, I want real food. I can't keep doing this. I'm okay. I'm under 200. I'm good. I reached my first, achievement. And I talked myself right out of it and got out of plan, and then put it all back on through COVID in 2020. And then just realized, you know what, this isn't okay. This isn't okay to keep yo-yoing, and I need to make a lifestyle change forever. And so here we are.
Here we are. Well, and you know what? I'd love, so what you guys don't know is you guys have heard me talking about our beloved book, by the way. And yes, I will be doing a drawing with her shortly about getting a book. I'm having more fun recording these videos than doing a giveaway. But she's actually the one, Carrie is, that showed me Elizabeth Benton's Chasing Cupcakes and her Primal Potential podcast, because Carrie was in a space where she was ready to be done with this problem, which she obviously, that's why she quit in 2019 to eat real food and all that. And Carrie, knowing that you are 199.6, tell everybody how tall you are.
5'4" on a good day.
I wish you were 6'4". That number would feel a little better to me. So now knowing what you know, and we'll tell everybody where you are now, but now knowing what you've learned through Elizabeth Benton's Chasing Cupcakes, the Never Binge Again, the Habits of Health, you've been doing the work since March, and we're now at the beginning of July. Now, can you kind of retro back to what you would have told yourself if you could go back to that you of November 2019, wanting the real food and all that, what would you be telling yourself back then?
Back then, I would have talked myself right out of everything and convinced myself to stop. Now, I would be like, you know what? Your choice isn't going to get you to your goal. What is your end goal? If you make this choice today, it's not going to be crucial, but what is it going to do tomorrow, the next day, the next day? Every single choice needs to be a step forward if you can wrap your mind around it. And I understand it's not an everyday win. Like every day is not like successful, and I don't make every right choice every single day, but it's about progress. It's about choosing what is more important to me right now. Is more important to cheat on plan, or is it more important to stay the course? And when I say cheat on plan, I don't cheat on plan like I don't go off and have, a Happy Meal or something like that. Cheating on plan is maybe instead I eat 2 lean and greens instead of 1 lean and green, or maybe I have a little extra protein or a little extra fat. I try to stick to all the approved foods because I know how that makes my body feel, and I know that will get me to my goal. Even though I might not lose the big weight that week, I will either lose or I will maintain, and I will be healthy and keep moving forward. And that's what's important to me now.
Mm-hmm. And it's so funny that you use the word cheat when we're talking healthy vegetables and healthy protein. Like that's what I always try to tell people is that's not a cheat. And even because those are both healthy options, right? And now we could, the 2019, you might've said, yeah, but fruit's healthy. I would love you to talk a little bit about what you've learned about fruits and whole grains from Elizabeth Benton's podcasts and why we have to balance those out.
So it's all about one, hormone balance, and two, inflammatory disease and inflammatory signals. And my body, because I had lymphoma, now I know retrospectively, I had inflammation for years, which led to the cancer. So making sure that my body knows what it can have and can't have is crucial. And fruit is, not everybody has a reaction to fruit, but it's sugar, and that spikes my insulin. That also affects my hormones, and I know that, and I don't miss the fruit. It's funny, I don't miss fruit. And my tastes have totally changed. So now different vegetables taste good, different things that I wouldn't normally have tried taste good, pairings taste better. But grains, I know for one too, are inflammatory for my body. Like if I went on and ate sandwiches every single day, my joints would kill me. I would feel bloated. I would feel puffy and hurt and ache. And so those are things for me that are triggers that I know I can't have.
Right. And let me ask you this, if you were presented at a 4th of July party, today's the 5th of July, and let's say you went somewhere and you hadn't gone prepared, which I know you wouldn't do now, but let's say all they had was sandwiches there and nothing else. And they had, let's say, salad that they'd already dumped, the balsamic or Italian that had all this sugar in it, and then all desserts. Tell me what your choice would be if all it was all these bite-sized sandwiches with lunch meats and cheeses in there.
So I definitely eat the lunch meat and cheese and just skip the bread. I tear it apart. It doesn't bother me. I don't worry so much about the dressing part of it, as long as if it's already mixed in there, I probably would still eat the vegetables because I know that I need to get the veggies and the greens in. And I would just accommodate for the dressing in my fats. And I would just make sure that I'm like, okay, I'm not going to overdo it on anything else or add any other fats anytime. I don't feel like those things are going to derail me, as long as I'm making a smart choice to avoid the desserts, avoid any of the fruit, avoid any of the bread or pasta or anything, like no pasta salad, nothing like that. Then I feel like I won the day and I won the event, and that's okay.
Right. And do you feel like now, knowing that your body responds inflammatory, and now you know the science behind it because you've been listening to the Primal Potential podcast, and Dr. A does have a whole chapter in the Habits of Health book about this, but like his one chapter is elongated in multiple podcasts in hers, so it's like stretches it out in terms that the person like me that doesn't understand the science as well really understands. I'm curious if your thoughts are, once you reach your goal weight and go through transition and we start having you pair daily one piece of fruit with the correct amount of protein, and then the next week it's a grain with a protein. How do you feel your body will be at that point once you introduce those back in, but they're paired correctly with protein?
I think it's very important to choose the right grains too, and the right fruits, because not every fruit and not every grain is going to give me that reaction. And I know that too. So like regular oatmeal, regular rice, things like that, where it's not processed, it's not overly processed, it's not just a piece of bread. I'm not going to grab a piece of bread, because I know how it makes my body feel, and I am going to listen to that. I've always kind of used my joints now as a guide. Like if I get achy in the morning or achy at night when I'm sleeping, I know that something wasn't right. So I'm going to listen to my body. That is key to me right now, is listening to my body.
I love it. Sorry, I'm going on side rails, but because I know you've been doing the research. Talk to me about watermelon. What do you think about watermelon? I don't know. Again, it goes back to everybody is different. Everybody is different. I think that it could be great if you have it once in a while. It's just not something you want to eat every day. Like, you have to be smart about it too. And you can't expect to do program, get to where you want to be, and then go right back to all the same choices. That is not what this is about. It is about teaching you, one, to listen to your body, and two,
what is healthy components. I think you hit on it really well when you said everything that Elizabeth teaches is in the life book. It is in there. It's just, for me, it was easier to follow her and to listen to her program, but it matches right alongside with what Dr. A talks about. And the wonderful thing is that while she doesn't necessarily agree with being on programs, she talks about all the steps and all the science that is already in Optavia. So I felt like, okay, well, who cares what she thinks about program? Sorry, Elizabeth, but seriously, it's working for me. It works very well. And that's what I need to focus on. And I know that the science behind it is legit because now I'm hearing it again from another source too.
That's not in our company. Exactly. And that's
Correct.
the thing that I've started doing, because I have a lot of people that reach out to me and they're like, tell me your thing. And they're just not ready to eat the astronaut food, right? When they've been eating Oreos, let's be real. Like, let's talk about apples and oranges, right? Like, I'd rather eat 5 of our packages in one sitting versus a whole bunch of Oreos with all the preservatives, but really when people are not ready yet to dive in and never get fruit and never get grains because they don't understand that mental component of what those things are doing when they're not balanced correctly and all of that. And with that, I suggest for them to start listening to Chasing Cupcakes and her podcast, because my end goal is not about what's in my bank account. Me being able to help people has been phenomenal, but my ultimate goal is for people to get healthy regardless of how it happens, right? And so that's where, like you say, it's almost like her content is our transition and maintenance info. It's really like my clients that have listened to her content are so ready for transition and maintenance. It's phenomenal. And you know what, back to that watermelon, the reason why I say that is because I remember in high school and college chopping up a whole watermelon and putting it in one of those big Tupperwares and just sitting and snacking on that. And I then learned when I started teaching people transition that watermelon is just water. Oh no, it's like one of the highest glycemic fruits there is. And it's kind of like white rice. People always like, but Gwen, I love my sushi. And I'm like, okay, stop. Like, if you were to take that 1 cup of white rice and put it into my fitness pal, it's 77 carbs. And it would take 3 chicken breasts in protein to counteract that 1 little cup of 1 cup of rice, right? So I'm like, it's not that you can't ever have sushi again, but in maintenance, you would learn how to have stacked enough protein throughout the day and keep those carbs low to bank for those carbs that evening for the sushi. So by the end of the day, you're still in a nice ratio versus, all this rice and all of that. Luckily, I don't love sushi, so that's not one of my things. And trust me, my birthday was on the 1st, and my thing used to be, if you watch my really old videos, Sam's Club cakes and cupcakes. I haven't had one of those in years.
Yeah.
And my husband's son goes, would you want a cake for your birthday? And I was like, no, I'm doing awesome. And my daughter goes, well, we could even get one of those little ones with the cupcakes. And I'm like, no, because there's a video when I first started that I literally took the cake and put it in the garbage can outside and then went back and got it because it was still in the box, in the top of the garbage can. Like, it pulled my brain. So now that we know that you needed real food, took a break 2019, tell us where you were March 2021, so 4 months ago when you called me.
I was just done. We had gotten through COVID, and some people got a break, right? Some people had a forced break and were able to take time off, spend more time with the family, spend more time at home. We have 2 small school-age children and we own a business my husband and I run together. That did not happen for us. We were in survival mode. We were in make sure the business doesn't close, make sure there's something for employees to come back to, make sure the kids are okay. They are now with us 24/7 because we had no sitters anymore. Make sure that, they are learning something, and just keep pushing. And finally in March, it was like, okay, I can breathe. We got through the worst of the storm. So I hope, it's July, so let's hope so. But I could focus on me again. We had things stable again at the business. The kids were now in school 5 days a week. Everything was back to normal for the most part. So I was like, okay, I need to do this for me. I need to do this for my sanity. I felt very overstimulated with everything. It became a nonstop constant. So I knew the first step was to get my eating under control. And yes, I could have done it on my own. I probably could have sat down, figured it all out, but I knew Optavia worked and I still needed convenience. So convenience for me was going through program. And yes, there's still some planning involved and there's still some thought process to it, but the convenience of being able to grab 5 fuelings for a day and know that this is what I'm having, and I can worry about the lean and green, which I've already planned out in the weekend before, I'm good. And, we have lessons in baseball and everything, and I can take them with me and go, and I don't have to worry about a cooler. I don't have to worry about all that other stuff. So that I knew I needed that structure if I was going to stick with it and move forward.
I love it. Well, and so when you reached out to me and we started this together, you were at 230, and tell everybody where you are as of today.
194.6.
Right. So she is 5 pounds past when she quit last time. Now, remember, disclaimer, results not typical. Your journey is your own. We can't guarantee results. You'll hear that at the front and back of this. But what I love is you can hear when she decided she wanted real food, wanted to enjoy the holidays, she was 5 pounds heavier exactly than where she is today. And the mindset is so different than today. What would you say is the one, because that 194 is going to be in the rear view in a couple of weeks, and then 184 and then 174. Like, I can foresee exactly where we are going to be in 90 days, 120 days, transition. What would you say is the biggest difference between there and today mentally on that 190s number?
So one thing I haven't told you, so brace yourself, but I did go through that whole mindset again. I went through for probably a day or two. I don't need to do this now. I'm good. I've hit, and I'm like, what am I doing? So it didn't just miraculously go away. I have to say that because I don't want people to get the wrong impression, but doing the daily mindset work, like, we have a short drive to work. It's not very long, but I make sure that I have one of the podcasts playing. I make sure that I am texting you every Monday morning. I make sure, and a screenshot of the scale, not just numbers, screenshot of the scale. I started doing that because I felt more accountable to me. Mm-hmm. And then just making sure that I'm journaling. I am journaling every day now and making sure that what I am focusing on that day is one step closer to my goal, whatever that goal may be. And I'm not always focused on the health because I know that can be sometimes just running in the background, but it's whatever else, because whatever else will also help me make better choices with my health goals too.
I love it. And what's so funny is because, as you know, I'm actively in the weight loss journey as well. And when I stalled out for about 2 weeks, and of course I pull out my measuring tape and it's moving, but my brain 8 years later still, even though I'm in chasing cupcakes and all that, and I sat and thought, I'm like, maybe I should start exercising. And you want to know what I do? It sounds like I might be bipolar, or I don't know, that's maybe not even the right thing. But I literally will have, I don't know, I didn't say this on the Habits of Health call when they had me talk before, but I almost have a board meeting with myself. And I'm like, okay, if my client came to me and they're like, I'm down 30 pounds and right? What would you say if they were like, I want to throw in exercise? And then I said to myself, okay, I still want to go 35 more pounds. So I can either probably 4 months, because I'm going a lot slower than I have in the past. It's going to be, poor me, 120-day window to get down to that goal weight. Or I can choose to throw in the exercise. Will I feel the endorphins and feel great? Of course I will. But now that 120 turns into maybe 160 or 180. So it's like, really, what do I want? How fast do I want it? And I have to have, like you're saying, that those screenshots of that scale. You're going to be so glad you kept all of that, just to remind yourself how far you've come. And it's that, remember that old saying, check yourself before you wreck yourself? Remember that saying? Like, that's what I even do. I'm like, come on, like, right? So I love that. And it's so funny because you are the epitome of the American mom. You have dealing with COVID and nowhere for your kids to go and trying to be everything to those children. I mean, and of course I know you have an amazing husband, so we won't discount that, but we get it, right? Like, and then on top of it, running a very successful printing business and trying to not just worry about your kids, your husband, your bills, but those employees are your family as well, right? And real quick, I know this is going long, but I know that the other long videos people have gone. I would love, because I know when you first started back with me right at the beginning, you had a pretty bad tragedy with one of your employees that really almost derailed you. Are you open to talking a little bit about that and how you just did your best through that? You know what I'm asking? Are you open to telling a little about?
Yeah, I wasn't prepared, but yes. Yeah, so I started on program on March 8th, and on March 9th, we lost an employee who, succumbed to an addiction. He had gone through treatment, and we thought he was good, and we thought he was okay, and his family thought he was okay, and he didn't make it. So that was the second day on plan. And the first thing I did was I reached out to Gwen, and I told her what was going on, told her what happened. She talked through 3 days with me back and forth on Messenger, and I was so appreciative to have the program because I didn't have to think. And I know that, that's not always what you want to hear, but it's the truth. I didn't have to think because I could just be in my grief and be in that place. Oh, shoot. But if I didn't have Gwen and I didn't have the program, I am sure that I would have been way worse off than where I was starting at.
Right. I mean, and it's not that this situation is what we're given. I always feel like we're given trials to figure out what we are choosing. And obviously that's not why that happened, because I feel like if that hadn't happened right out of the gate, some other weird obstacle would have happened. Like
for sure.
Job, the forklift running up the guy's leg and crushing the leg. I remember that was like crazy. So my thing about that is I remember specifically saying to you, so I was hoping you were open to tell about that, as a coach. Now, granted, I don't believe I'm the perfect coach because I just told her what I felt, and there's 5 different coaches would have given you 5 different advice. But my whole thing is you choose what's best for you. But the 2 things that I do know is, number 1, if you start eating bad and eating your feelings, you're going to feel worse. So right now you're emotionally a wreck, but you're going to be feeling worse with all those carbs. And yes, you'd only been a day in, so it's not like you've been going for 4 weeks, but I knew in 5 days you were going to start having energy, and that energy would carry you through funeral and dealing with the employees going through all this and all that, and so I just know that the sugar and the carbs make you feel like trash. And when you already emotionally were feeling like trash, that was my suggestion to you, is you do what you need. If we want to start over after the funeral, I'm open to that. But my response was just try to be better than worse. And worse is, I don't like that word, but more healthy choices than less, because at the end of the day, next week's going to come, and then the following week's going to come. But the choices you make today, you have to fix the following week, right? And so, that was my advice. And she chose to keep moving forward so that she didn't have to think about food. She used the ease of our program to get her through. And if she hadn't, no judgment. I mean, trust me, I know that you can't fix grief. And clearly talking about it 4 months later, you're going to feel that way for years. That's allowed. But the thing that came to me as I was listening to one of her podcasts, and then I listened to A Habit of Health right after, and they said something that almost that almost said it perfect is you should never have emotion attached to a food choice. That's when you know you have an addiction. So if there's any emotion around it, I'm sad, you're choosing a food because I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, or I'm happy, it's a celebration. If there's an emotion attached to it, that's your sign to check yourself before you wreck yourself, right? I mean, that's it.
For sure.
Right? And here's my thing is you tell me this back, because you hadn't started listening to Chasing Cupcakes and hadn't dove into the mental component. I'm curious, if you had decided to just scrap the week and start over, how hard do you think it really would have been to get back on? Because do you think you would have kept using that grief to just keep starting and stopping?
Yeah, because not only the grief, but then it shook up the whole business. I mean, we were headed into our busy season. My husband ended up working 3 a.m. to 5-6 p.m. every single day, trying to keep up because we lost a production person. And so again, it goes back to what would have been convenient at the time. Had I not stuck to it and not said, okay, that's fine, we're just, don't think about 5 fuelings 5 times a day and just focus on one meal, I'm sure we would have been eating out and whatever. And I'm not going to say we didn't occasionally go to Chick-fil-A, but Chick-fil-A now to me is grilled nuggets and a side salad.
Yes.
So it's different. And then, going to McDonald's is not an option. They have no more healthy choices at McDonald's. There are no salads. There's no nothing. Ridiculous. So it's knowing what you can do and where you can go and being prepared in any situation. And when you get there, just making the best choice to get your goals. So, but you're right. If I hadn't stayed on program, I'm sure we would have been eating out all the time. We would have just whatever we could find, whatever's quick and easy, sandwich is easy or whatever. But yeah. And I feel like too, don't discount, because it wasn't just all about program for you when you walked me through it. And coaches aren't just all about program. They care about you and your health, your well-being, and where you're going. And I felt like you were there for me emotionally too. So it wasn't just, focusing on plan and sticking to plan. You helped talk me through things because you were there. And so, and you didn't leave me. You just kept going, and it was quick messages just to make sure that you knew that I was there. And so that's what a coach really does.
Right. Well, and
so thank you.
And I say, I feel like I've gotten every experience in life to help the people that I coach, because my sister's son has struggled with addiction in and out of, and we've known at any time we could lose him to addiction, 20 years later. I mean, even it's been crazy, and he's been clean for quite a while and all of that. But I know, just like us, when people are like, how does she deal with it? I'm like, well, how do you not go back on sugar? It hits that same pleasure sensor in the brain. So for me to judge him when I've yo-yoed with sugar, it's, more people die of obesity related deaths than they do of overdoses from drugs, yet nobody puts that together, And so that's the thing, is not only have she has the one son that struggled with addiction, because she had another son that died in a freak go-kart accident. So I understood what she was going through, unfortunately or fortunately, from the sidelines. And like she said, another coach may or may not have had that experience. Unfortunately, I do. So I was able to just give her the options that I would personally have chosen, how I would feel in both. And, and just kind of just like she said, it wasn't like I wasn't being a therapist like a lot of people think coaches should be. I was just like, well, here's what I would do. Here's the thoughts. Checked in with her every day for a couple of days until she's like, no, we've made it through. And she really checked in with me more, and again, obviously not all coaches have these experiences. So, it will be what it will be. And if your coach doesn't have that, then hopefully you have some good close friends that can help you through that. And if you don't have close friends, that's also an assessment of who you are surrounding yourself with. And that's why we say, hint, hint, Carrie, we love people to become coaches, because it creates healthy people around them. And of course, I haven't even talked to Carrie about this, but what I find is, if people don't have people around them that are making healthy choices, you're this lone ranger that really will struggle to stay healthy 5 years from now, because every family event is full of junk with not even one good choice. So that's where I'm like, surround yourself with at least a couple of other people that are on the same mission of health that you are. That's why I made that one video, don't take advice from overweight people, which is normally your family and close friends, because they don't get it. So that's why I always say, if somebody will coach a couple of friends or shadow me coaching them, now they get to hear all the wacky stuff people ask me as a coach, but they learn the answers going, oh, well, when I'm in that situation, now I know how I will navigate that. Because as coaches, we're not up here, we're just ahead of you in the process. And a lot of people get that mixed up, because trust me, I have 10 clients right now. I was just thinking about, as I was pulling out Carrie's notes, thinking, oh my gosh, my one client, she just kind of canceled her calls. She hasn't reached back out to me, and I haven't heard from her in 60 days. And as a coach, I send her the weekly emails, but she may be mad at me because I'm not still reaching out to her every week when she went MIA. And you have to decide. And Carrie, that's the thing, is luckily you've stayed in touch with me. But when you took a break in 2019, you weren't blaming me that I wasn't still reaching out to you. You were choosing your choices. And I mean, even though you and I have a good relationship, if I got hit by a bus, no, blew up with a fire, no, I'm kidding. If I was gone tomorrow, you've made sure that you have worked on this mental component. Yes, I'm an extra layer for you, but I am not your end all be all to your results, because you've done the work and you know those answers, right? You know, so.
And you hit it on the mark. You have to do the work. You have to do the work, the mental work, as well as the physical and emotional work. You have to, because that is key to keeping you going.
Keeping you going. Yes. And that's it. And as I said to Carrie at the beginning, I'm like, let's just keep these little things small. But this is why after week 1 and month 1, this is what our check-ins look like. I'm like, what did you learn? What did you like? Like we have fun. That's why when people, like, I look in these groups, and again, not all coaches are like me where I love to chat, but it's, as you can see, it's not about the money. I learn from her just as much as she learns from me. And that's what's so fun for me as a coach, is just, and like I say, hallelujah for me and so many of my clients and people that follow on YouTube. Because if she hadn't stumbled on this, like the one thing, and I will wrap up here, but like Elizabeth Benton said in one of her podcasts, which it says it in the Habit of Health book, but not this direct, is she goes, all right, so you eat that piece of fruit by itself, your body has to release insulin to bring that sugar down, because that apple is still 25 carbs and will spike your blood sugar if it's not paired with 25 grams of protein. And anytime insulin is deployed, cortisol is deployed. Anytime cortisol is on board, your body cannot use whatever that fuel was for fuel to keep fueling those muscles. It's like, I can't remember the word, you may know, where she kind of talks about it almost like closes the pores on your body so that it sits in the fat instead of absorbs into the muscles. I need to go back and reread that. But it, like, every time I look at something that's a carb, now my brain does that, like cortisol. And you think, I've been fighting this cortisol fight for 1.5 years. I don't want to go put that carb in that's going to go deploy that. So in the real world, if I'm going to eat a piece of cake, and again, being perfect on plan is not plan. It's figuring out your choices. So if I'm going to go eat a piece of cake, I will make sure it's been right after I ate a huge lean and green with a big protein, the right amount, but then I choose the lowest carb vegetable, because lettuce is 0 carbs. The 3 servings of broccoli is 15 carbs. So that gave me a 15 carb deficit to kind of, not really, have the window for that cake. So when you think about it in those terms, going forward, you don't ever eat that cake by itself. Yes, are you going to go out of fat burn? Of course you are, but at least it's not going to be way out of fat burn with that cake dangling versus the cake being paired with that protein. And that's why I'm so grateful for Carrie, because she was like, I'm not resonating with Never Binge Again. I stumbled on this. When you need to listen to it. And I think you told me 3 times, have you listened to that yet? And then finally I was like, whoa, I can't stop listening, right? So,
well, and it's even funnier because you're talking about all the science end of the stuff, and I'm like, I don't remember half of that. And I'm like, I see, because what I get out of it is different than what you get out of it, because mine is the focus on the mind work and how to keep my mind in check. And you have already done your mind work, you know, all that stuff, but you are so focused on this. Well, but but you're focused on the science because that's affecting you right now. So I think that speaks volumes to how this book can transition. And while I'm listening to the book, I'm also relating that to work life. So there's so much that you can take out of it. And I think we chatted about it too, is that Chasing Cupcakes and Elizabeth's voice to me was so much more direct and like, wake up, smell the coffee. Are you lying to yourself or not? And I appreciate, Dr. A's Stop Challenge Choose. I appreciate that. But it's the mind work that goes behind the choice that I needed to fix. And so while everything that Habits of Health and everything that the Life book teaches is so valuable and is so on point, her voice was more harsh to say, just stop lying to yourself. And that also makes me feel like I have you in my head every day, because that's your attitude, right? Are you lying to yourself? Are you doing this? Look at the facts. And so that's what I think I took out of it more so. But it's hilarious that you're talking about all the science. I'm like, okay, sure. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, and you know what's so funny is, Dr. A is this personality. If you could let him and Elizabeth riff together, Dr. A is so mild in the Habits of Health calls and stuff like that. But if you talk to him, I have this photo, I'll throw it in here, where I was at a event, and I had just won this award anyway, and I told my story. Maybe I don't know if I'm allowed to even put on YouTube. Anyway, and afterwards he came up to me and he goes, I cannot believe that you sold plasma to have the money to do our program. I had no idea that you were on Medicaid and food stamps. So he's going on, and he goes, what do you want out of Optavia? And I'm like, to help people. He's like, no, what do you want? And I'm like, well, I think, and he's like, make a choice right now. Look in me in the eyes. Do you want this or do you want this? And I'm like, I think I want this, right? Like, and so that's what's so funny is Elizabeth doesn't have compliance to keep her, at bay. Where Dr. A, if he could let it rip, he would be talking exactly like her, because that's how he really talks in life. Just if you haven't met him in real life, you haven't gotten to experience that. He's like, enough, just make a choice. Like, I don't know if you've listened to Andy Frischella, but they swear a lot, or Ed Milet. I'll send you some of the, oh my gosh, those are knock off the crap. Do you want to be a leader and what you want, or do you want to be a whiner and a victim, like hardcore? And that's exactly how Dr. A is, but due to compliance, he's calmer. But I love getting to have the opportunity to talk with him, because you're exactly right. You and I resonate with, stop it. Other people don't resonate with that, and they find their resource that speaks to them, so yeah. So I love it. Okay, so we're probably way over time. Tell me, what's the one thing, if somebody is stuck with us, which I watched the analytics of Carol Ann's, people watched the whole thing. What's the one piece of advice you would give the person that is starting again, looking down the barrel of all the weight, because you are a 5'4". I didn't write on this paper because I haven't been worried about your end game. What's the number you're shooting for on the scale? And that's a whole different conversation, but what's your number in your mind so far?
I mean, I think I want to get to 140.
Okay.
That's my goal.
So disclaimer, results not typical. You are down 35 pounds from when we started in March, and you still have, is that 45? 55 to go. So that is a number that will be overwhelming, because you're not even halfway there, and it's so hard, and you're not getting to enjoy things, all that dialogue. What's the thing that you are telling yourself to just keep moving that needle toward that second 50%, and then 60 and 70 and all that, getting closer? What's the one thing you're trying to tell yourself that just keeps getting you closer to that bottom 50%?
So I'm quoting Elizabeth, and she says, transformation is now, right now, this choice now. So it's not today, it's not tomorrow, it's not next week, it's right now. So every choice I make right now will get me further to my goal. And it's funny because you said all that, and normally, I might be going, oh my gosh, you're right, I'm not even halfway there. I got more weight to still lose, but I'm not worried about it. I'm not scared about it, because I posted this, it's my Facebook cover, but if I quit now, where I'm going to end up, I'm going to sit there and go, I wish I was here, and I'm already here. I'm already here. So keep moving forward. If you keep moving forward, you will eventually get there. And I think too, you have to understand it's not going to be instant. It's not going to be as fast as somebody else, and it might be faster than somebody else. And that's okay, because it's your journey. It's your path. It's your actions, one step at a time, one choice at a time, 1 minute at a time, one at a time.
Dr. A, one healthy habit at a time.
Yes.
And I love, and I'll wrap up with this. So you just nailed it on the head. I get so many people going, everybody else's results are so much faster than mine. Well, I want to tell you guys right here on this screen that Carrie started, now granted, she started 40 pounds heavier than me, but in the scheme of things, it's 40 pounds isn't a whole lot to see that big of a difference in what I'm about to say. So Carrie started March. So her week, you actually started at the end of March, because I'm looking at my notes.
March 8th.
March 8th. Okay, I didn't write this. So March 8th. So she started March 8th. I actually started a little bit at the same time, but I kind of was starting to make better choices before she and I kind of started at the same time. So what's crazy about this is she's down 35 pounds in the same time that I am down 30, right? So should I be comparing my number? Well, actually, I'm wrong. I'm not even that. Let me look, because I want to, before we hop off, let's see, because I'm just curious. Wait, because I track everything. I started a whole month after you, right? Okay, so if we break it down, January 4th. So needless to say, I could go through the math. She's lost easily 10 pounds in a shorter amount of time than I have. But again, when I got up this morning, and as I'm waving my arm, my lunch lady arms, we'll see what happens with those again, right? I still have 35 to go. But when I looked in the mirror, I'm starting to see the difference. And that's what matters. And we're gonna get a photo of Carrie's face of before versus now. And wouldn't you say it's almost like you have had a little bit of a facelift, or like liposuction out of your face?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's funny because before all this, like around the holidays and stuff, I would look at my pictures of me, which there are no full body shots. Gwen and I went through this. And I would look at my face and I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I get these like big chipmunky cheeks? And it's amazing now to look at it. I'm like, oh, I finally have my face back. It's crazy, just in your face, just in the difference in my face and my neck. Like I have a neck again too.
I know, right? Like I started getting one of those micro pullers, because I'm like, okay, here we go. I mean, it's coming, right? So, well, if you've stayed with us through this, here's what I would love from you guys as we wrap up. Number one, would you please comment below what part of Carrie's story resonated with you? Because I know many of you will watch and hear something that you were like, oh, I love that. And I also wanted to bring on Carrie because she obviously has dove into the primal potential information. The video that I did before with Carol Ann, I didn't have primal potential, and she found her different resource, which was the Naked Mind, because her issue was the alcohol at a very severe level. And so what you're hearing, this is only my second one, is they're finding their thing, partnered with our Habits of Health, because it's not just one resource that's going to matter. So I'd love for you guys to let Carrie know what resonated with you as you're going through your journey, working toward optimal health. I have a feeling we will do a follow-up with Carrie maybe in 90 days and see where we are. And you know what's really exciting about the numbers of all of this is knowing that we're July, August, September, October, November. She's going to be at transition going into the holidays. So she will get to, if she chooses, if the neighbor brings over fudge, have one piece paired with protein, and there will be no emotion about it, no guilt. She'll have learned how to do that. So how many of you would love to be going into the holidays transitioning or at your goal weight and know that you get to choose whatever you want? You just get to learn how to eat it right. So thanks everybody for sticking with us. If you haven't already, make sure to click that subscribe button so you get notified when I load more of these videos. If this video offered you value, share the love with Carrie and click that like button. And then if you haven't already, come on over and join my Gather with Gwen group on Facebook so that you can see when I load any new challenges or things like that. And as Carrie has resonated so much, as you know, I have my logo merchandise that says, just don't quit. And Carrie is the prime example. She worked with me 3 years ago or 2 years ago, and then had life happen and she came back, and really her motto is now, just don't quit, because that's the key to success, because you're never going to have a straight line to health and wellness or success. We can have a whole nother video with Carrie about her actual real business and the line of ups and downs. There's no straight line to success. So if you just don't quit, and it's however many times you fall down, the faster you get up, that's the goal. So Carrie, thank you for spending the day with us. Comment below with everybody what you guys learned, and have a great day. Bye guys.
Bye.
At Optavia, our mission is to offer the world lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time. The following audio contains a personal testimonials of independent coaches and clients within the Optavia community. Their results are based on the unique experiences of their journey. We cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. We hope these stories inspire you to continue your journey with or join Optavia, but please note that they have not been verified, and your individual path to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you speak with a healthcare provider or doctor prior to beginning your journey with Optavia.